ready for some football. I don't know about you. Who else could it be but your man Lou? Yeah.
The LouieTeeNetwork is powered by MusicHead University. MusicHeads, classes in session. Turn me up. Enroll on YouTube now. Link is in the description.
Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T? Welcome to Thursday Night Football overtime. Titans, Steelers. Pretty good game. I enjoyed this thoroughly, start to finish. Two young quarterbacks. Kenny Pickett in his second year. Will Levis making his second career start, first on the road. Was very impressive last week in a win over the Atlanta Falcons, 4 touchdown passes. So was really looking to see what he did for an encore. Titans have not been a good road team. I talked about that on the podcast just yesterday. As a matter of fact, I think this is going to be a good week for the kid on the podcast, on the winners and losers this week. I think my picks might be onto something. Take a listen to what I said yesterday on the podcast. I know the Titans are capable, but all of the Titans wins this season, correct me if I'm wrong, they all have come at home. They don't play the same brand of football on the road for whatever reason. And I'd rather be good at home than on the road. You know, protect the house. They do that, but they don't play well on the road. And you go into a team that's desperate. They got to win this game. You know, he had an ugly showing last week against Jacksonville, and their defense has been their catalyst all season long. And if they're going to win this game, it's probably going to have to step up again because I don't trust their offense. But you got a young quarterback making his second career NFL start on a short week. So this isn't like last week where they had a full week of practice to prepare. Everything's kind of muddled and jumbled and condensed. I think he makes some mistakes. He looks human. He didn't last week. I think he does this week. And I think the Steelers win in a low-scoring affair, 20-16. Did your boy hit it on the head or what? 20-16, Steelers win, low-scoring game. The only thing I don't think I hit was Will Levis making some mistakes and looking like a rookie. I thought he looked good. I don't know about you, but I was impressed. I was impressed with Will Levis again for the second consecutive game. I know the result isn't what you're looking for, but I thought he held up and handled himself well in a tough environment on the road against a quality defense. That offensive line is as banged up as it gets, and I thought he was going to be sacked 12 times tonight. That first possession, Watt and Highsmith were just doing whatever the hell they wanted to do. You add in Keanu Benton, the rookie out of Wisconsin, who is also getting pressure, and I thought, this kid is going to get his ass whooped tonight. And I thought that he did a fantastic job, a phenomenal job of just finding incompletions, getting rid of the football, throwing it into the ground, finding a guy, sidearm, check down, you name it, he did it. And again, it's that flick of the wrist. It's that strong arm, the ability to see. He's a big, tall kid, see over the line. I thought he avoided danger so many times tonight. Hell, there's a screen he throws to Derrick Henry. He has no idea Alex Highsmith is coming. Literally, he turns around and Highsmith is in his grill, and somehow he gets it to Derrick Henry on the screen. I'm like, wow. I mean, that's impressive. There's several other throws where the pocket is crumbling and somehow he's able to get it out. There's a check down that he throws. I get it. It's a check down. I don't care. He's a rookie. And, a lot of times as a rookie quarterback, you don't get to the check down, okay? And he finds the check down, right, as the pocket is collapsing around him. We'll come back to Will Levis and the Tennessee Titans. I wanted to start off by saying I was impressed. I don't know about you. I thought he looked good again. If you're the Steelers, this is what you do. This is how you win. It's not pretty. The Steelers will never be confused for a beauty pageant contest winner, okay? This is what they do on a weekly basis. If you know anything about Mike Tomlin, when Eric Bieniemy says we need to collectively drag our asses across the finish line for 60 minutes, this is what he's talking about. This is what it looks like. Mike Tomlin, Steeler football, looks like dragging your ass collectively across the finish line after 60 minutes of ball. Every time they win, it looks like this. It's rare that the Steelers go out and just kick somebody's ass and deliver, a 34-point performance. Hell, I don't even know the last time the Steelers scored 30. I'm actually interested. Let's see if they've done it this year. I don't think they have, but I'm interested. So I'm just going to take a look just for the sake of taking a look. Of course they haven't. The highest they've scored this year is 26, and that was against the Browns, and I think they had 2 defensive touchdowns in that game, if I'm not mistaken. So this is who they are. And then, I was blown away because I think I heard this on the Sunday night game with the Steelers and Raiders, if I'm not mistaken. That was a Sunday night game. And I think Kenny Pickett tossed 2 touchdown passes in that game. And they said that's the first time in his career he's thrown multiple touchdowns in one game. And I said, wait, what? Can you repeat that? Did you just say what I think you said? So you're telling me Kenny Pickett started all last year. Maybe 1 or 2 games he missed due to injury. He started every game this season, right? And you're telling me this is the first game after what? Let's call it 19 starts, okay? 20 is a nice round number. Let's call it 20 starts. Let's say he had 14 starts last year and 6 or 7 this year. At that time, it was probably 5. Maybe that was week 4 or 5. Let's call it 20. You're telling me through his first 20 games, he didn't have a multi-touchdown passing game? But that is indicative of what this offense is, right? They don't score a bunch of points. They do just enough to eke by with a victory. The defense is their catalyst. That's the defense is what drives this football team. And they just asked Pickett to not make any mistakes. Like, just if we got to punt, fine, so be it. Just don't make the back-breaking mistake that costs us the game. And I know Steelers fans have been frustrated with Matt Canada for like 3 or 4 years now. Like, they've been calling for this man's head as long as I can remember. And I don't know. I think Kirk Herbstreit made a great point, but nobody's trying to hear that shit. I think he made a good point, though, that maybe Canada is calling the game to the strength of the team, which is the defense. Like, and look, like tonight, for instance, is a great example. There were a lot of yards left on the field by Kenny Pickett with just poor throws. There's a 3rd down early in the game. I want to say it's the second possession, because their first possession was outstanding. They went right down the field and scored. And then they went 3 and out. And I think the second possession was 3 and out because they got a wide open George Pickens on a shallow cross, and Kenny Pickett throws the shit like 6 yards over his head. And you're like, bro, what the F? You put that on him, or you put it out in front of him, and he's running. He's going to turn up the field. He had separation from the defender, and he's going to pick up an additional 15 or 20 yards. He throws the shit 6 yards over his head. It's an easy throw. And we saw that on the night tonight. When he missed high. And he missed high quite a bit. So you can blame Matt Canada for that. And I'm not taking Matt Canada off the hook. He has not been what Steelers fans would consider an even average offensive coordinator, okay? But damn, when he does dial up a good one, you can't miss. Kenny Pickett, true to form, 1 touchdown pass, no interceptions, don't turn it over, right? Deliver the touchdown pass when your team needs you. This Steelers team is just weird because everybody seems to take turns making mistakes. Kenny Pickett threw a dime to George Pickens. He doesn't get the second foot in. Like, come on, bro. You're a pro. Like, I would have allowed that last year as a rookie. You in your second year now, I need you to get that second foot down. Like, that's inexcusable. You catch a dime of a throw like that over the shoulder, you got to drag that second foot. Even if it means you hit the ground, you got to find a way to get that second foot in bounds. You cannot step out of bounds right there. So that's a mistake. Cost you 4 points, right? You have to settle for a field goal. Deontay Johnson dropped a touchdown, right? Like, he ultimately got it 2-3 plays later, but if not for a holding penalty on that same play where he drops the touchdown, you might not get a touchdown. You might have to settle for a damn field goal, right? And tie the game up at 16. So you can't be having those types of mistakes, right? And again, we've seen Kenny Pickett miss a bunch of throws throughout the course of the night. That final possession of the game, if you're a Steelers fan, Catch the damn ball. You know, you got an opportunity to end the game on the very first play of that last possession, and you drop the pick. You got another opportunity with a rookie rush, drops the pick. Right? If you lose this game, those are the two plays you're going to go back to and you're going to say, dude, this game should have been over. But, hey, Quan Alexander, that's a hell of a play, bro. I mean, we got two corners who are supposed to be able to catch, who can't. And then we take the linebacker who's only in because Cole Holcomb goes down to a serious knee injury, and he's inserted into the game, and he climbs the ladder and snatches the bitch out of the air like he's supposed to. Impressive stuff. That's Steelers football, though. You know, hang in, find a way at the very end. It's not pretty. It never is. It's never aesthetically pleasing to the eyes or the senses, for that matter. But as I always say, it's not pretty, but it's gritty. And most importantly, it's a dubski. And that's what the Steelers did. They stacked another one in the left-hand column. They're now 5-3 on the season. And as I always say, bet on Tomlin, okay? If you're not sure about who's going to come out on top in a Steelers game where you look at the two teams and you're not sure, bet on Tomlin, all right? Bet on Mike Tomlin. That's always the safest bet because I've seen this man take garbage teams, horrible quarterback situations, and drag their ass across the finish line to either 8 or 9 wins when you think to yourself, how in the hell are you winning games with Duck Hodges at quarterback? It's what he does. How are you winning games with Mason Rudolph at quarterback? It's what he does, okay? So I got a different level of respect for Mike Tomlin. It isn't always pretty, and I know some Steelers fans are driven insane by Mike Tomlin and some of the decisions that he makes. I just know the guy finds ways to win ball games, and they did it yet again tonight, 20-16 over the Tennessee Titans. And in what I think right now is the best division, top to bottom in football, they keep pace with the Ravens and the Bengals. Ravens are right now 6-2. The Bengals are 4-3, and we'll see what happens on Sunday night. They got a big one against the Buffalo Bills, but Burrow looks healthy again. They look like they're ready to make that run. And if you're the Steelers, you're just trying to hang tough. You're just trying to hang in there and give yourself a shot as you continue to try to figure some things out offensively. And while your defense continues to carry you, find ways to stack dubs. And that's what you were able to do tonight. I thought Najee Harris looked good tonight, man. And what about Jaylen Warren? You know what? The Steelers always seem to find these kinds of diamond in the rough type of backs. Whether I'm going way back in the time machine here, but, follow me here. Whether it's Amos Zaraway or it's Willie Parker or it's Jaylen Warren, right? They seem to always find one of these third down scat back type of dudes, but he's not just any old third down scat back. He's physical, man. You saw what he did to the corner. Well, I think it was a safety actually in the hole. Ran his ass slam over. I mean, I think it was a corner. I think it was the corner out of Washington, the little nickel corner. Ran his ass slam the hell over, right? Jaylen Warren is built physically, low to the ground, low center of gravity, but also has the speed on that play where the rookie tackle out of Georgia, Jones gets kind of beat to the inside, but is able to kind of recover a bit. But he blows the play up. Jeffrey Simmons blows the play up. He's able to spin, and then he gets to the outside, and that's where that speed kicks in. And so he's super impressive, man. I thought he was one of the more impressive players on the field tonight for the Steelers. And every week that I watch the Steelers, he's one of the guys I always walk away impressed with. But when he's got it going, and then Najee plays the way he played tonight, and again, Kirk Herbstreit, I think he is on it, man. I think he's doing a fantastic job on these Thursday night games. But he's like, usually when Najee Harris gets the football, there's already one or two guys in the backfield, or they've already erased the line of scrimmage and moved it back a yard. He's got nowhere to go with the football. Like, he usually doesn't have any space to operate in this. And if anybody knows anything about Najee Harris or these Alabama backs for that matter, they need space to operate. You give them a runway, you give them an opportunity to get going downhill. That's Derrick Henry, That's Brian Robinson Jr., that's Najee Harris. They all look the same. They all operate the same. You give them space in a runway to get going downhill, they're a load to deal with. And for whatever reason, the Steelers just seem to not be able to open up any holes in the run game. They never seem to be able to create any space for Najee Harris. That was not the case tonight. They showed you the statistic. The Steelers are one of the worst rush offenses in football, per average yards a game. They, at one point, I think they had 99 yards, and we were still in the third quarter rushing. They averaged like 79 yards a game, and that's like, I think I saw 31st in the league. I think that's what the graphic said. If not 27th, somewhere in that neighborhood. They're one of the worst. And they ran the football effectively tonight. I was impressed with Najee Harris. I was impressed with Jalen. I was impressed with, honestly, the way they did things offensively, because even though they didn't score a bunch of points, I thought there were opportunities left on the field. Pickens dropping the touch or not getting the second foot down, Pickett missing some throws. I thought there were some opportunities that were out there. So this is a big win for the Steelers. You can't, if you're serious about making a push for the playoffs, the Titans don't stink, but they haven't won on the road in eons. They're starting a rookie quarterback, making his first career start on the road. The offensive line was, banged up, and it got even worse throughout the game. It seemed like even though guys came back in the game, that means they were somewhat compromised. They don't have the greatest group of receivers or skill players for that matter. You got to find a way to beat the Titans. And they did. And it was the exact type of game that I thought we would get. And the outcome was exactly what I thought it would be. But not without strife and not without a Titans team that was scrappy and fighting to the very bitter end. And let's kind of shift our focus over to the Titans now. And you got to start with Will Levis. And as I mentioned already, I was impressed with Will Levis. I can't speak for anybody else out there. He was super impressive last week. I was really interested to see what he would do in a condensed, shortened week. You didn't have essentially 2 weeks to prepare like you did the last time you started against Atlanta. This was essentially, 1 or 2 days, and then you got to get out there and get it done. And to see him come out and play the way that he did tonight, and I know the numbers aren't going to jump out at you. And if you watch the game, you may have been impressed. You may not have been. But for me, I walk away saying that kid looks like a first-round quarterback to me. Now, I'm not ashamed to admit when I was wrong. And 2 games isn't going to get me to offer up a 00 yet. You know what I'm saying? You know how I operate. I'm stingy with these 00s. I clutch these bitches like a old lady clutches her pearls. I'm holding on to those 00s now. You got to wrestle that shit from my hand. However, I like what I've seen in these first 2 games. Again, that's not an easy environment to go into. That's not an easy defense to go against. With the offensive line in peril like it was tonight and all of the penalties and things that he had to overcome, there was some bad field position early in this game. That one possession where it's 1st and 19 and then they get a holding penalty, 2 straight holding penalties on TJ Watt. And I'm thinking they're going to kill this kid tonight. I mean, they had already sacked him twice. Petit Ferrer is literally holding on every play to stop TJ Watt from getting to him. And they're moving in the wrong direction. And he throws a laser over the middle of the field. I don't recall to who. I want to say it was DeAndre Hopkins, but ends up getting like 27 yards on 1st and 23 from his own 4-yard line. I'm like, okay, all right, Will. And I just thought he showed the poise and the moxie of a veteran quarterback. He seemed unfazed by the pressure that was constantly around him tonight, a pocket that was always crumbling. And he just seemed to stand in there and deliver the football, check down, screen, out route. And again, when you got an arm like his, that out route for some where you need to step into it, he doesn't have to step into the out route. His footwork doesn't have to be perfect. His feet don't even have to be pointing towards the intended receiver. He's got one of those flick of the wrist arms. So literally, he's under duress. He's standing flat-footed with the pocket collapsing, and he's just gunning it sidearm to a outbreaking route away from him on the money. And you go, huh. I mean, even little plays like on that last drive, it's 2nd and 18, and the pressure's coming. Watt's coming, Highsmith's coming, Keanu Benton's coming. The pocket is collapsing. He gets out of dodge. He scrambles to his right. He's about to get smoked, right? And he finds the tight end. It wasn't the greatest throw, but just getting out of that crumbling pocket and finding that tight end as an outlet and getting it to him and allowing him to get up and run. They got 10 yards on that play. It went from a 2nd and 18 to a 3rd and 8. Like, that's a huge play. I've already talked about the screen that he threw. And then there are plays where they're coming with pressure and he throws it into the ground. Or he throws it away and he gets rid of it. And it may not seem like much, but as a fan of a team where the quarterback who is still learning that lesson, like, bro, just get rid of it. Find incompletions. Don't put us in 2nd and 19 when it could be 2nd and 10. For him to just have the presence of mind, let me get this shit and ground it right by, King Henry's feet. Live to fight another down. How about the blitz pickup, right? Sees the defender on the outside, changes the protection, lets them know, hey, I'm responsible for this. Y'all make sure y'all pick up everything to my left. I got this dude coming on my right. I see him. He's in my line of vision. And what do you do when you're getting blitzed, right? As a veteran quarterback, you're taught to throw into the blitz. If they're coming from that way, that's where the ball should be going, right? So the blitz comes from his right side. What does he do? He throws the ball to an outbreaking route to his right. That's what you're supposed to do. I mean, that's good shit in your 2nd career start. You see the blitz, you identify it, you get the line switched, and you slide him the right way, and then you identify the blitzer, you see him coming, you can't pick him up. This guy's hot. He's my responsibility. I got to beat him. And then you deliver the football. That's some impressive shit. Okay? I walked away saying, I want to see more. I'm intrigued. I'm not sold, but damn it, I want more. Okay? I can't tell you the last time I was looking forward to a Tennessee Titans game. I mean, you probably got to go back to when they were in the AFC Championship game back in 2019. I don't look forward to Tennessee Titan games, okay? They're one of the sleepiest teams in the NFL. They play a boring brand of football. Ryan Tannehill's your starting quarterback. There's nothing here to see other than Derrick Henry. So for me to be excited, edge of my seat, I'd say, Titans fans, you might have yourself one. And if I'm a Titans fan, I know I heard Vrabel say when Tannehill's healthy, he's the quarterback, he's got to be shitting me. I'm hoping he's being diplomatic, trying to play to the locker room with the veterans, tell them, hey, the season's not over, we're not punting on the season, But even the guys in the locker room probably saying, look, we got to play the young fella, man. Like, this young fella gives us a chance. Like, what are we doing here? I hope they make the right decision, even when Tannehill's healthy. He's not the future. Levis potentially could be. Let's not play this game. Let's not do this song and dance, okay? Let's not fight the inevitable. The future in Tennessee isn't Ryan Tannehill. Now, it may not be Will Levis. It damn sure ain't Malik Willis. I feel pretty confident in saying that. Damn sure ain't Malik Willis. But it could be Will Levis. And through 2 starts, I haven't seen anything to convince me otherwise. Show me more. Show me more. Now, the first thing they got to do is they got to go get this man some weapons. This shit that they're trotting out on the field is disgusting, okay? Treylon Burks, I'm not one to criticize young boys too early in their careers. This is year 2 for him. So I'm going to back off, but I don't like what I see, okay? Kyle Phillips, I think, is a good piece, one that you stash away. Nick Westbrook-Akina, I guess. I guess. But yeah, DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, literally, Chris Moore. I'm good. Yeah, go get me some more stuff. Come on. What are we doing here? You need 2 receivers, not one. You need 2 receivers. And nobody wants to hear that when you spent the first round pick on one last year. But the reality of the situation is you got DeAndre Hopkins, and then you got and I like Kyle Phillips, and I think you get 2 more guys, and Phillips is your 3rd option. Probably should be more like your 4th. Westbrook-Ikhine, I think, could be your 3rd option, and I'd be comfortable with that. And Phillips be your 4th option, and I think you'd be fine. You need Treylon Burks to step up and be a number 2, and I just haven't seen it, right? And it seems like he's always hurt too, and he got hurt again tonight. It was good to hear that he had movement in all of his extremities and that they were going to test him. The neurologist was going to test him to see if he even needed to go to the hospital. That's great news. Hopefully everything checks out and he's able to fly back to Tennessee with the team and not have to stay overnight for further evaluation. So they got to get some more weapons for whoever is that quarterback, even if it's not Will Levis. But I thought that they did some good things tonight offensively. And, shout out to the offensive coordinator because they took their fair share of shots. I don't think they hit any of them, but there were some ballsy calls in there. There was one, I just talked about the one where, it's 1st and 23 from your own 4-yard line and they drop him back. They max protect, I think. I'm not sure. My guess is they max protect. It might have been a 2-man show, but he found DeAndre Hopkins for 27 yards. Then there's another play on that. The very first play of the second to last drive when they started at their own 8-yard line, they go play action fake first play. And Will Levis rips a dot over the middle of the field and gets him out of dodge and, or not over the middle of the field, excuse me. It's like a corner route to it wasn't DeAndre Hopkins on that one. My guess is it was either Moore or Westbrook-Ikhine. But he drops a dot over there. And I'm like, damn, just like that. From the shadow of your own goalpost to out and flipping field position. And then ultimately they had to punt. But guess what? The Steelers at that point needed a touchdown. They were still down 16-13. And they punted that bitch, and Stonehouse is a beast. And he kicks that bitch, and it's fair caught at the 8. So you go from starting at your own 8 to a dime on a play action on first down to flip the field position, and now the Steelers have to go 92 yards for a touchdown. Now, they ultimately did, and that proved to be the game winner. But, hey, that's where you want to be if you're the Titans, forcing the Steelers to have to drive 92 yards if they want to win the game. So shout out to their play caller for being aggressive at times with a rookie quarterback on the road in his second career start, first on the road, and not being gun-shy, not being bashful. And Derrick Henry, I thought he was effective tonight. What did he end up with? I thought, I don't expect these numbers to be super gaudy, but I think he's going to, when I'm done looking at this, I think his numbers are going to be really solid. 17 for 75. That's a good day at the office for Derrick Henry. You would actually like to see him have a couple more opportunities, but in order for that to happen, you got to convert third downs. Let's see what the Titans were on third downs. 3 of 13. Again, you got to convert third downs if you want Derrick Henry to get more carries and more touches, and they just did it tonight. And that was really their downfall in this football game is they really didn't convert on third downs. But and in the red zone, obviously 1 of 4. I've talked about this ad nauseum. There are a lot of bad teams, and they showed the Titans statistics in the red zone this year and how it's down dramatically from where it's been. They went all the way back to when Tannehill took over in 19, and they were like the best team in the league in the red zone. Then they were like 3rd the next year. And then they were like 7th. Last year, I think they were like 11th. And this year, they're like one of the worst teams in football in the red zone. And you can see it. You can see it. They struggled when they got down there. But you expect that with a young quarterback, but still, before he got in, they were struggling in the red zone. So, defensively, I thought they competed their ass off. Sean Murphy Bunting went down relatively early in this game, so you're without your best corner, and it hurt him on that Deontay Johnson third down. That was a dime. That's the best ball from Kenny Pickett of the night. That and the one that George Pickens didn't get his foot down on. But that they had to have that one though, right? They had that's third down and like 4. And if you don't convert, you got to punt. And we're getting late in the game at this point. Now you're going to probably have to start calling your timeouts because that was the final drive, of the game for the Steelers essentially that mattered, right? The one that they got at the 50-yard line, they were only trying to force the Titans to burn their timeouts. If they got a first down, then the game's over, cool. But they were just looking to, make them use their timeouts and then punt and pin them and make them go the length of the field, which they ultimately, did. But that's a big-time throw. And you had Avery at corner, right? Instead of having Sean Murphy bunting out there, you had Avery, and it cost you, right? So you're out there, and both teams had injuries. And Thursday night is always tough because, guys that might have been able to go on Sunday usually aren't able to go on Thursday. And so that's a tough situation to be in. But I thought your defense competed like they normally do. But when you needed a stop, you couldn't get it. And that's where the Titans are. Because I really thought that if Van Jefferson didn't drop that ball last week, I really felt like Taylor Heineke was going to take them down the field and they were going to beat y'all last week. So I don't trust this Titans defense to get stops when they need to get stops. Like they had a chance to beat the Ravens over in London and the defense just couldn't get stops when they needed to get stops. So valiant effort, but no dice. But if you're a Titans fan, there's a silver lining in this loss. Will Levis didn't throw up on himself. He looked competent. He looked poised. And he looked like a franchise type of QB. Now, again, it's 2 starts. Don't overreact. But I'm intrigued. I'd like to see more. Okay. And can somebody answer me this? Why are we seeing the Bears on Thursday Night Football again? Didn't we do this already? Didn't Washington and the Bears play on Thursday night? Why are they on Thursday night for a second time? Okay, I'm like, I already digested this. I just got over the Panthers in week 2 on Monday Night Football with that snooze fest of a game versus New Orleans. That just finally cleared my esophagus, right? I just got that shit down, and it's still playing around in my stomach a little bit. And now you're trying to feed me more, Carolina? But on top of that, you're doubling up, on the Bears on Thursday night? Who's in charge here? Let me speak to the manager. Who's in charge? I need answers. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Anyway, let's get to the comment section, see what you guys have to say. Casper the Barbarian, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Casper the Barbarian, right? Shout out to Louie T, one of the few to cover all games with his team involved, involved or not involved. Gained a new fan in the past month. P.S. though, #fly Eagles fly. You had to be an Eagles fan, didn't you? Anyway, man, I appreciate you, and I'm glad to have you on board, man. I told you, and I'll tell anybody that wants to hear this. I'm an NFL fan first. I'm obviously a Commanders fan, die hard, burgundy and gold till I die. But I'm an NFL fan first, and part of that is just a defense mechanism. My team has sucked for most of my life. So I've always been watching other teams because my team sucks ass. We don't play bonus football most of the time. So and again, Barry Sanders was the reason I fell in love with football the way that I did. So yeah, I'm going to do this. I'm going to continue to cover the entire league because I enjoy it thoroughly. I appreciate you though. Zoe Life, No Life. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, everyone said Levis could not throw with touch. I don't know if I felt that way. I'd have to go revert to my notes. I don't know if that was one of my criticisms of him. My 2 criticisms, and we talked about this the other night. I think Red Wings 01 summed it up beautifully. Chef's kiss. Slow processor and poor decision making. So he would compound being a slow processor, meaning going through his reads slow by then compounding it and making a bad decision. So it's not bad enough that you're sticking on your number one read too long, and by the time you get to your second read, that window was open if you would have just went through it quickly. But now that safety on the backside that you're not looking at is able to come over and you don't see him, and now you throw it. Now that's a bad decision because you're throwing over the middle late. And that's one of the golden rules. It's just one of the things you don't do. It's taboo. Don't throw over the middle late, and don't throw a pass to the outside inside. If you're going to miss outside, miss outside. Don't miss inside. And you would constantly see him do things like that. And you just go, bro, really? You know, those were my two knocks on him. And they were big ones. You know, big ones. Because generally, you can't fix a slow processor. You know, usually you don't upgrade the hardware when you get to the NFL. And decision-making has always been a big one for me because usually decision-making doesn't get better with time. You are or you aren't. It's one of those things where you just go, I don't know, man. That's pretty rough. But I haven't seen that in these first two games. I haven't. So I've been impressed. Red Wings 01. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB who writes, I really don't understand why people acted like Levis wasn't a first-round prospect. The guy was taken 33rd overall, not 60th. He ain't perfect, but good. Yeah, I think there was so much vitriol for him initially because his name got floated around. It really didn't have anything to do with him per se. It was more about his name being dragged through the mud with the whole, you know, the Panthers are thinking about taking him. I remember I did a whole podcast. I started off my podcast anyway, and the title, you know, had something to do with Levis, and Levis's face was on the art for it because I'm like, I know the Panthers aren't thinking about doing something as foolish as taking Will Levis number 1 overall, you know, and I stick by that. I still think Bryce Young is a better prospect than him, but you know, it's crazy to watch him do what he's done. You know, I always feel like, and I've said this a number of times, the more football you play in college, the better. He, you know, didn't play a lot at Penn State, transferred and played 2 full seasons at Kentucky. That really benefited him, especially doing it in the SEC. One of the better games I saw him play was against Georgia. And we know how good Georgia's been each of the last 2 years. So that was one of the, you know, games where I went, okay, all right, there's something to this kid. He can play a little bit, but it's just inconsistent for me. But I you know, the biggest issue, you know, that I usually have with quarterbacks coming into the league that I don't think are ready is when they're thrusted into action right away, they got to play. I think Zach Wilson would have really benefited from coming into the NFL and sitting for a little while. He didn't play a ton of ball at BYU. He was always injured. And so I think he would have benefited from just sitting down for a little while, learning the ropes, you know. And I thought Will Levis benefited from coming in and sitting down and watching for the first 7 weeks or whatever it was, you know, 6 weeks. I think he benefited from that. I think he benefited from having 7 weeks to prepare for his first NFL start. And I think people discount that. If Sam Howell would have played when Carson Wentz went down in week 6 versus the Bears last year, moving forward, I think he would have stunk it up last year. I truly do believe he would have come in. I don't think he was ready. And he's even said, I don't think he would ever admit he wouldn't have played well, but he benefited from sitting the entire year. And, you know, that's just not how this league works anymore. You get picked in the first round, we want you to play right away. But I think had Levis been picked in the first round, somebody would have thrown him into the fire right away. And I don't know if he would have looked as impressive. He might have, but he might not have. I think it worked out well for him. And, you know, we'll see. We'll see. I'll say this. I don't think that his talent suggests that he wasn't a first-round quarterback. Again, it was up here that I think people question whether this is a first-round prospect. I know that's where my objections came into play. I know that's where I started to question. It was never about his size, athleticism, or arm talent. Those things right there scream top 5 pick. It was always about up here. And anybody that knows football knows quarterback is mostly about up here. You can have all the physical gifts you want. God can bless you with every single thing. You can get in every single physical gift line. But if you don't have it up here, you're Jamarcus Russell. Zoe Life, No Life. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes? Aziz is undrafted. Who are the 49ers scouts? I wanted Aziz Ojulari in free agency. I talked about, all the linebackers that were available. And the two that I zoomed in on were David Long and Aziz Ojulari. Aziz Al-Shire, right? Those were the two guys I zoomed in on. I'm like, yo, and neither one of them signed these ridiculous lucrative deals. They were relatively cheap, pennies on the dollar. I'm like, we couldn't have given David Long a 2-year, $11 million deal. Hell, and some people even requested this. I think I was like sour on it because I feel like this dude is available every year, whether it's via injury or some teams are just like, we're good. But I know a number of fans was like, yo, Quan Alexander's available. We should go get him. And I'm like, I'm good. And then I looked up his age and Quan was only like 27. I'm like, shit, Quan's only 27? Feel like you've been on the streets every year. Somebody always pick you up. 4 or 5 weeks into the season, every year for the last 6 years. You only 27, bro? He was like, yeah. I was like, damn, you only in Tampa for 4 years alone? He was like, nah. I was like, you sure? He was like, let me count. Yeah, it was 4 years. I said, how the hell are you 27? I don't know, man. Stop asking me so many damn questions. Quan Alexander looks better than anything on our team at linebacker. That might be a little disrespectful to Jamin Davis, but you get my drift. Anyway, I digress. Al-Shire and David Long were on my radar. And unfortunately, we signed Cody Barton. Anyway, I digress. Raiders lifer 45. Right? It's just a flick of the wrist for Levis. His arm is super impressive. Maybe McDaniels got fired for passing on him. I doubt that's why he got fired. That might be a part of the problem and that's not why Mark Davis fired him, if I had to guess. I think it was just more about team morale, the direction of the team, there was no direction. They were directionless. They were wandering aimlessly. You could feel it. You could see it. The players felt that way. And Mark Davis saw this thing getting out of hand and slipping away, and he had to do something, and he did the right thing. And I'm glad he had the balls and the stones to do it when nobody saw it coming. But part of the reason that the Raiders are wandering aimlessly is because they don't have a quarterback. Had they taken Will Levis, I think I mocked them Will Levis at 7. And instead they took the Texas Tech kid, Trey whatever, and I haven't heard a peep out of him. I haven't heard a peep out of that dude. Metaphor. Right? Boy, Levis is nowhere near NHO. He hasn't played as much football as Sam has. And Sam's, a lot of people, Sam's technically a rookie as a starter, but this is his second year in the league. So Levis has a lot of growing to do. But I can tell you that the physical gifts, they're there. And the mental doesn't look too bad to me. Doesn't look too shabby either. Let's see. Metaphor says, get yourself some Levis cheeks. Not a good start to winners and losers week. I don't know for who, but there's some Tennessees out there. There's some Tennessees for sure. I wasn't one of them, so I'm good. Derek B writes, Levis looks like a first-round quarterback to me. A lot of teams have to be kicking themselves. I mean, the jury's still out. 2 games doesn't make a franchise quarterback. But if I'm a Titans fan, I'm looking around at other Titans fans and I'm like, are y'all seeing what I'm seeing? Y'all seeing this shit? I don't know about y'all, but I'm really feeling this. Are y'all feeling this? Are y'all feeling like I'm feeling? Like, if you're a Titans fan, you got to be feeling like, man, I think we might have something here. You know, just 3 weeks ago, they were kind of wandering aimlessly. They didn't really know what the hell was going on. You know, 3 weeks later, you're looking around and saying, we might be on to something here. So we'll see. Because a team like the Raiders, if this kid turns out to be good, a team like the Raiders in particular, a team like the Vikings who had a shot in the first round to take this kid, like they're teams that were looking around who may not have needed a quarterback. Detroit, I know they weren't necessarily looking, and maybe they're not even thinking about replacing Jared Goff, right? But they had 2 first-round picks. Like, this is the kind of kid that I thought you should have taken if you had a quarterback this year that you knew was going to start for you all 17 games and you didn't need him to play. You know, Minnesota, perfect example. Look at where they are now. You don't think Will Levis would have been a great guy to come in? I was screaming for Minnesota to just take Hendon Hooker. To hell with Will Levis. That might have been a little too rich for your blood with Kirk Cousins coming off of a 12-win playoff season. Taking a quarterback in the first round and isn't going to play and contribute might have been a little bit too rich for your blood. But second round, as good a time as any to take Hendon Hooker. Look, you would have had Hendon Hooker coming in right now instead of Jaren Hall, you know, or trading for Joshua Dobbs, right? So we may ultimately look back and there may be 3 or 4 teams that may be kicking themselves, the Raiders included, who could have used a quarterback and just decided, nah, I'm good. But I can't blame them. You know, it's easy to look back, and hindsight's always 20/20. It's easy to look back, but how did you feel about Will Levis last April? That's the question. I know how I felt. I'm not going to sit here and bullshit you. I wasn't a Will Levis guy. So I didn't blame anybody for passing on him. I thought he was a second-round quarterback. So we'll see. Number of teams maybe, like you said, kicking themselves. We'll see. Video channel, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, how greater than Pickett? Facts, big facts. 100% actual factuals. I tweeted something out to that effect. I forgot about Brock Purdy. I'm glad somebody caught me. And it was like, yo, Brock Purdy, don't forget about him, because it's easy. He was Mr. Irrelevant in that 2022 NFL draft class of quarterbacks. But I tweeted out something to the effect of, if Kenny Pickett is the only quarterback standing in the way of Sam Howell being the best quarterback in the 2022 draft class, then go ahead and crown my man right now. Because Pickett, he's so inconsistent right now. Yeah, Kenny, 2 gloves. Never trust a quarterback that has to wear gloves on his hands to throw the football accurately. Never, ever trust one of those dudes. So, you already know how I feel about that. I'm right there with you, bro. 110%. Kevin the PRF writes, if you have a good week, I'll have a good week. We only deviated on 1 game. I took Miami. Well, hey, get on my back. I'm finna carry us then. Ride my coattails, because I'm about to turn this shit up. I'm ready to go. This is not an easy week either. I hope you know that. This is a really tough week to navigate. It's a lot of games between some funky teams that could go either way. You know, Green Bay Rams. What the hell is Stafford playing? I don't know. I'm done with Green Bay. And the week that I'm done with them, that's the week they decide to play good ball. I bet you that's the shit that happens. But I've always known Matthew Stafford to be a gamer. He's been hurt throughout his career, and he always manages to find a way to play. I'm banking on him finding a way to play in this game. That's what I'm banking on. If he doesn't play, I'm in trouble. Washington and the Patriots. Like, bro, who the hell knows? Seriously. Colts could be starting PJ Walker again. I know Deshaun Watson is, practiced this week a bit, but who the hell knows? And Watson stunk this year. When he has played, he's been funky as hell. Who the hell knows? They should be able to beat the Cardinals, though, right? Right. Seahawks, Ravens. That's not an easy game to pick. Bengals and Bills. I wanted to go Buffalo so bad, but we'll do that tomorrow on the podcast. I just know this. A lot of games. Jets and Chargers. Like, it's a lot of shit, man. Eagles, Cowboys. Anyway, I digress. See. Derek Beast writes, the way the game was going, I would have punted and played defense if I was Vrabel. You're talking about on that fourth down, they went for it around midfield. I mean, that's easy to say in hindsight, Derek B. And I get the point that you're trying to make. You got a great punter. You pin them inside their 5-yard line, potentially inside the 10 for sure. And they're going to run the ball. They don't trust Kenny Pickett to throw it at all. And I don't either. And they don't want to stop the clock. Here's the thing that punting would have also done, though, that you have to take into consideration. Punting would have gotten the clock to the 2-minute warning. You would not have gotten that stoppage right before the 2-minute warning that allowed you to not have to use your first timeout. I think if you punt on that fourth down, it may have run off those, because I think it was like 2:03 left on the clock when your boy hit the ground and didn't get up, Treylon Burks. So punting might have run off those final 3 seconds. I don't know. I say that, but that play probably took every bit of 6-7 seconds. A punt doesn't take that long usually, that operation. So I don't know. That might not have been the case. That's a dicey proposition. Punting the ball, you may not get it back, right? You already got the football. First of all, yeah, great field position. If you're the Titans, you're kicking yourself. You got the personal foul, unsportsmanlike conduct penalty on the rookie on the extra point that gives you great field position with a nice return by Tajay Spears. And you got the ball damn near at midfield. And you really don't even move it, at all. So that's a bitter pill to swallow right there. But I understand where you're coming from. You punt that thing. The Steelers aren't going to put it in the air. They don't trust Kenny Pickett. And they're going to run it. And you expect to be able to stop them and force them to punt. You probably won't have any timeouts left because I think you might have run off the rest of the time prior to the 2-minute warning. But that's nor here nor there. One timeout versus no timeouts. You would have gotten it on the back end with the field position that you would have gotten, right? That's assuming that your kicker, your punter doesn't kick the bitch into the end zone because he's got such a big leg. But decisions. That's why these coaches get paid the big bucks to make those types of decisions. Had he punted and the Steelers gotten the first down, we would have crucified him. We'd have crucified him. You go for it on fourth down there, and you see what happens. Obviously, they didn't get it. They still got the ball back, and they got it back with a ton of time and a timeout. And it almost worked out for them. So, it is what it is. I get your logic, though. I understand. I think most teams in that situation are going for it on fourth down because the logic there is similar to kicking an onside kick when you got 3 timeouts, which I don't agree with, by the way. I'm more of a kick it off deep, and for the same reasons you would have punted, kick it off deep, see if you can't get a defensive stop, use your timeouts, and then you'll get good field position. That's the hope. A lot of people tend to go with kicking the onside kick because in their minds, analytics say you're getting 2 opportunities to score once. Who doesn't want 2 bites at the apple instead of 1? You don't recover the onside kick. You get the stop. They're not in field goal range. They'll have to punt. You're going to be backed up. But you're still going to get another opportunity. You had an opportunity to recover the onside kick, and now you're going to get another opportunity to possess the football. You get 2 chances. Vrabel in that moment is thinking, I'm going to get 2 chances here. If we convert this 4th down, we're good. We keep it pushing. If we don't, we're going to stop them because they're going to run the ball 3 times. We're going to get the ball back, and we got the 2-minute warning, which they did. So we're going to get 1 timeout remaining, and we're going to get the ball back with a ton of time, 1 minute and 44 seconds left. I'll take my chances with that. And going for it on 4th down. You get 2 bites at the apple. Anyway, I digress. 24-year Snyder survivor. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB who writes, TJ Watt is every letter in the word killer. And our fans wonder why we traded our pass rushers. It's because they don't look remotely close to that. I'll tell you that our guys don't even look like Alex Highsmith on the other side. They don't even look like him. Is that a stretch? Am I wrong? You tell me. Because I've watched enough Alex Highsmith to know he's pretty damn good. And I thought he was excellent tonight. Anyway, Watt he's built different, man. And, it's hard. I don't even like comparing our guys to TJ Watt because our guys would have, our former guys would have never, ever been in the conversation for defensive MVP of the league. Watt won it already. Our guys will never, ever, those guys, Sweat and Young, will never, ever come close to a defensive MVP season. Never. They'll never have a season that looks like Aaron Donald or J.J. Watt or T.J. Watt. They'll never come close to breaking a sack record or any of that shit. They'll never have a season like that. They'll never have a season like Bosa had last year. And I feel confident saying that. They'll never have a season that looks anything like those guys because they're not those guys. Let's see. E writes, is Levis skipping steps in the processing? Last 2 throws, stare down receiver, throws it down the middle where the player both should have been. So what you got to understand is at that point of the game, you're running out of options. You don't have, like, the Steelers are playing the end zone. There's every single member of the Steelers secondary is staring at Will Levis as he decides to throw the football. Like, there's not, he didn't stare down the seam ball to the tight end, Okonkwo. He literally was staring to the left the entire time. He knew he was going to try to drill it, and he came back. And the safety's like, I'm not moving. Like, this is where I'm supposed to be. I'm literally playing the middle of the field. I'm not moving from this spot. So you can stare to your left all you want. We got to do it over there. My job is to stay here at home over the middle of the field. As soon as he turned back to the middle of the field and he tried to throw, go watch that play again. Watch his helmet. He's staring left, and then he comes back to the middle and tries to drill it to Okonkwo. And this Rush is sitting there, the safety is sitting there the whole time. But his job is to be there. He wasn't going to be able to fit it into any of those holes. And that throw at the end, the one that got picked off, that's a damn good throw. That's just a better play by Quan Alexander to sink underneath that route and to climb the ladder and go up and get it. If he doesn't catch that, Josh Wiley, the tight end that he was throwing the ball to, he probably catches that ball. Now, he was going to take a shot, and I don't know if he holds on to it. There were 2 Steelers defenders ready to light him up. But that thing was going to get in there. It's the same throw that Sam Howell tried to make against the Bills It's hard to make that throw because the defense is inviting you to throw it because they've got guys underneath and over the top. It's hard to fit it in. It's going to take an absolute perfect throw and maybe even some defensive malpractice for you to get it in there. It's hard. I don't count anything on that final drive on those last 2 or 3 throws against him. The one at the beginning of the possession, I do, where he should have been picked off with the corner literally in bail technique, keying quarterback's eyes the entire time, and he throws it right to him, and DeAndre Hopkins has to play defender. That's the only throw I'm beating him up for. Like, bro, you can't do that. You almost killed the drive before it even got started. You can't do that. All the other throws, it's desperation time now, you know? Abel Ambrosio writes, is the Patriots game where we start our 3 to 4 game win streak, or you don't see that happening this year, and keep up the good work, NHO? You know what? I don't know what to make of the 3-game, 4-game win streak that we normally get. Something tells me that it is coming. I don't know if it'll be 4. It could be 3. But something tells me that we will get a win streak. But I don't know. I think when you start looking for stuff, that it doesn't come. I think when they've come in the past, it's when we haven't been looking for them, right? Obviously, the first year, Alex Smith was in the lineup. Who thought we were going to win games with Alex Smith? Who thought the defense was going to play the way that it did? You know, who thought that we'd be able to win games despite Dwayne Haskins? That San Francisco game, we didn't score an offensive touchdown. We scored 2 defensive touchdowns in that game. But we won, right? We won. That's the most important part. Who would have thought that run was coming in 2020? Who thought when we were 2-6 and we had just lost to the lowly Denver Broncos and and the Buccaneers are staring at us post-bye, who thought that we were going to get on a run and get hot and get to 6-6? None of us did. Last year, after the Bears game, right? You'd already, that's your first win. You're 1-4. You beat the Bears. You should have lost that game, but you find a way to win. You find out Carson Wentz has broken his finger. And I think most of us wanted to see Heineke at that point anyway. Some people even wanted to see Sam Howell at that point. I wasn't one of them. I was more like, hey, put Heineke in. But even then, I'm like, we suck ass. I didn't see us, winning 6 out of our next 7 games. Yeah, right. This year, we're looking for it too much. I think when you're looking for it, I don't know if it's going to come because we all keep expecting it to come at some point. It may still show up. If it's going to happen, this is as good a chance as you're going to have the remainder of the season. You're not going to have 3 games like this again that you look at and you say, hey, I can see us winning that. But again, it usually comes when you don't expect it. So who knows? I'll just say that. Kevin, Packers need to see what these teams are doing with new quarterbacks by giving them legit weapons. Will balled out, but you can see how much he trusts D-Hop. I've always said the Packers were negligent in their pursuit of receivers. They could have drafted a first-round receiver already, but they haven't. And, it is what it is. They keep drafting second-round receivers. They did it with Devontae Adams. They did it with the kid from North Dakota State. And they did it again with Jalen Reed. They continue to – it's almost as if they wear it as a badge of honor. We don't draft first-round wide receivers. It's almost like they look at the rest of the league and they say, hey, bet you can't do it like me. I don't draft first-round wide receivers. Get like me. Get on my level. Mike Jink, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Mike Jink writes, I said super chat. What up, Mike? Says, what up, Big Lou? I picked you guys to win literally by flipping a coin. That's the kind of game it is. Heads, Washington. Tails, Patriots. Facts. I mean, it's a lot of those games this week, though. We're not the only one. That's why it's a tough week, if you ask me. Kevin, writes, also, Lou, saw some Bears fans talking about Sweat and saying he's better than Gary and wanted to hear your thoughts on how they compare since you know Sweat to the bone. I don't know if I would ride with Sweat in a comparison with Rashawn Gary. Let's look at Gary's. So that's one of the guys that I had to offer up a 0-0 to. I thought he wasn't very good coming out of college. I was like, you just wasted a first-round pick. And the last 2 years, when he's healthy, Rashawn Gary has been a problem. And even this year when he came back and they've been kind of, limiting his snaps, he's still getting to the quarterback. Let's look at Rashawn Gary's statistics. So he had 9.5 in 2021, 6 last year, and he's got 4.5 already this season. So he's interesting to me because I feel like he's got double-digit sack potential. He's got a little bit of that ability to bend on the corner. He's faster than you think. But I don't know if he's not elite. So he's definitely comparable to Montez Sweat. But I think he's got more skill than Montez Sweat does. Like Sweat just always seems to be relying on physical gifts, bull rush, speed to power, his length. I don't even think he uses that enough, to be honest. I just feel like a lot of Montez Sweat's pressures come from inferior play at the tackle position and then him just having some physical gifts. It's not about skill with him. And if I feel like if somebody coaches him up, he could be really, really good. Because with that kind of length, he should be really causing problems. He really should. I don't know. I'd probably go with Sweat because I think Sweat's probably a better run defender than Rashawn Gary. If we're talking about just getting to the quarterback, I'd probably go with Gary. But overall, all around, I don't think he's that far ahead of Sweat as a pass rusher, and I'm taking Sweat as a run defender over Rashawn Gary. So overall player, give me Montez Sweat. If we're just strictly talking getting to the quarterback, I think Rashawn Gary is probably better than Montez Sweat. That's how I would describe that. Sean Blake writes, did you get a chance to hear the Kelsey podcast? They were giving praise to Sam and EB. Well, remember, somebody posed a question to Sam, and I brought it up on the show yesterday. Somebody asked Sam about Kelsey, having nice things to say about him on the podcast with his brother and other players and coaches around the league, giving him praise and how he felt about that. And remember, his response was, I'm not really too concerned about that. I'm just focused on trying to be the best version of myself, getting better every week and trying to help this team win football games. So I already knew about it. I was telling y'all that, hey, y'all should go check it out. I'd already seen that clip that's circulating online right now, but I'm not surprised. Are you? Marlon Humphrey in the scrimmage was on a Ravens podcast, and he literally said, yo, this kid is better than I think people understand. Like, they got something here potentially. Him and EB together could be nasty. So I'm not surprised. Sean Blake writes, I found it interesting when Ryan Poles said they were working on an extension for Sweat. When asked Sweat, he said he's considering all his options, paraphrasing. Yeah, Sweat, I think I read something to the effect of, and this is me paraphrasing Sweat. He said something to the effect of, weigh all my options. I don't think it would make sense for me to do an extension at this moment. So I think he's essentially saying, let me see what Chicago's like. Let me see if I like the team, the direction that they're heading in, the locker room. So he's a down south guy, so he's not used to cold weather. And, you would think that wouldn't have anything to do with nothing. But, for somebody that's been in warm weather climates their entire life, I get it. Maryland isn't exactly, and DC isn't exactly warm weather. But Tez doesn't usually stick around. Off-season hits, he's down south with family. Him and Chase were never at OTAs, right? Not unless they had to be. So you send him to the Windy City where it's cold 85% of the year, and it's only warm for like 6 weeks, 2 in July and the entire August, and then it's back to being cold as shit. Maybe, all of July and 2 weeks in August, and then it's back to being cold. I don't know if that's for him. We'll see. I think he just wants to kind of feel out the situation and see if that's somewhere he could call home for the next. This is a pivotal part of his career. Obviously, this might be the only big-time contract that he signs. Understand that Montez Sweat is 28 years old. So by the time this contract is over, let's say he signs a 4-year deal and he plays out the 4-year deal, he'll be 32. I don't know if there's another big payday. He might get paid again, but it might not be a huge one. So you gotta understand that he's got to make the right decision here. So we'll see. Trust me, he's not playing anywhere else next season. I assure you that the Bears didn't give up a second-round pick to let this man walk away in free agency. He can sit here and mull over decisions all he wants. They'll slap the franchise tag on his ass, so damn fast it'll make his head spin. You get knocked the F out like Mike Tyson, right? Like, he ain't going nowhere. Next year, he'll be playing for the Chicago Bears, whether he signs a long-term deal or it's on a franchise tag. Red Wings 01. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Red Wings writes, yeah, I get where you're coming from about Levis and mental stuff. Though I thought there was more to him than just traits. He ain't Paxton Lynch. Canada didn't look actively terrible. He didn't. And that was his first game down at field level. Maybe that'll help him. I don't know. You usually, when you think about coordinators and them sitting up in the box, it gives them a better vantage point. They can see things. They can see maybe how a team's playing certain coverages and if they're busting and there's an opportunity. So you get to see all of those things when you're up high. When you're down at the field level, you can't see everything. But he seemed to be in more rhythm. What I found interesting, and my brain is weird. So sometimes I over analyze things. I'm guilty of that. And when they scored that opening touchdown, he's all excited and he's trying to fist pump guys, and he goes over to dap up Najee Harris, and Harris just doesn't even bother to give him any love. He turns around and hits one of his teammates and then goes back out on the field. And I'm like, interesting. Like, he wanted to celebrate with a lot of guys, and nobody really was fooling with him for real. I don't know. I could be overanalyzing it, but Red Wings 01 writes, I mean, he's still bad and needs to be shown the pink slip, but maybe staying on the sidelines will benefit him. But we saw Scott Turner try that, and look how it went. Yeah, didn't go well. He had one game, and he took his ass back up into the box. He's like, yeah, this shit ain't for me. Sean Blake, I listened to some of the beat writers' interviews with players today. Seemed like the current guys weren't really upset Chase and Tez were gone. AG's response was especially interesting. I talked about that yesterday. He was kind of like, yeah, I hadn't talked to him yet. I mean, because they understand it's a business. Yeah, a lot of these guys, you hear people preach that all the time, but to see it sometimes is jarring. I think most of them expected Tez to get traded. I don't think they expected Tez and Chase to get traded, but all in all, they understand it's a business. They understand that it could happen to anybody. But I didn't, some guys felt like they were taking it a little bit tougher than others. Like Leno felt like he got rocked a bit by it, but Leno understands that it's a business. All those guys in the locker room do. So, anyway. E writes, I just think we got to slow down one way or the other. Don't tear Levis down like he's a bust and don't hype him up like he's the next coming just yet. Still way too early to tell. Absolutely. I don't think anybody's calling him a bust, or I shouldn't say anybody. There's some people that watched the game tonight, and I don't know how you could watch tonight's game and walk away saying, oh, he stinks, he's a bust. Well, I don't think anybody should be crowning him either. And I've been saying that all night tonight. Like, it's just 2 games. I don't want to get carried away. But you got to be encouraged. Like, would you rather have him play poorly or play really well in his first 2 starts? Like, it beats the alternative. Like, this is what you want. You want your quarterback to come out and play well in his first 2 starts. He was exceptional in his first start. And for your first road game, hostile environment against that defense and that pass rush with your offensive line being what it is, with really no weapons outside of DeAndre Hopkins and the run game that was really solid tonight, that's a hell of a performance, if you ask me. But again, it's just me. Anyway, I digress. That's going to do it for me, your man Louie T. I thank you guys for joining me. Steelers get the win 20-16. They're 5-3 on the season. Big win for them. They needed to find a way to win. This is a typical Steelers type of performance where they just hang around, and find a way to score a touchdown late in the ball game and win. If you're the Titans, sucks. You had a chance to get back to 500 in a division that it's not great, but it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. But Jacksonville's playing exceptional ball. But you've yet to see the Jaguars yet this season. So you still had a say-so in that matter. And if you could have gotten back to 500 with the way Will Levis is playing, who knows what could have happened. But now you're 3-5 and kind of feels like the season's, maybe slipping away from you a bit. But again, there's a silver lining on all of this because I didn't think you were going to be good anyway. You may have something at quarterback. And to me, you're at the point where you need to explore that and see where this takes you. That should be what the rest of this season is about. And if you win some games along the way and you get to the end of the season and you're in the wild card race, great. If you're not, but Will Levis proves to be a guy that you feel comfortable moving forward with next year, even better. Even better. So that's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on Thursday Night Football Overtime. See you guys next time. Y'all know what it is. God bless. And good night.